All right, yo. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake. It came out like 5 years ago or something. One of my favorite games ever. Just in terms of the gameplay, the survival gameplay where you're fucking stressed out, item management, you're fucking making sure you look in every corner and loot every drawer, try to get every last item, every last craftable, every last bullet. Resident Evil remakes to me have the perfect level of difficulty. You're strategizing, you feel great when shit works, you feel challenged when shit doesn't work. Is perfect to me. The one thing I would say about Resident Evil series is that the storylines are like preposterous. They're fucking ridiculous. All right, so ultimately I would pick something like The Last of Us 2 over it because it has both of those gameplay chops and that awesome narrative. But Resident Evil remake series is like right there at the top. They're just bangers. 2, 3, 4 remakes, they're awesome. I don't know where they go from here. Did they go to 5, which is like that point where it was like they started to fall off a little bit, a little too much action focused. It wasn't the aesthetic. There is like Code Zero or Code Veronica or whatever they're called. Do they go backwards? Don't know where they go from here. I trust them. I think they're doing some of the best video games going right now. I was probably too scared back in the day when I was a kid. I don't necessarily mean too scared from like a horror standpoint, like turn the lights off, can't go to bed. I don't mean scared like that. I mean like intimidated from like a gameplay standpoint, like it was hard. Motherfucker coming at you with the chainsaw and shit. And the first level in the game puts you against a wave of enemies and you're like locked into this town square, and that game's just intimidating. To me, it was a little too much action focused, but I really respected. I understand, like, oh, people talk about that as one of the greatest games of all time. So when you add that polish, some gameplay tweaks, obviously the graphics look great, and what they really do is they make the game how you think you remember it, but they're adding in like little side quests or areas that combine this area that you remember and this area you remember. You don't realize that this part, they made that shit up, and it's just as good as the original material. This is the blueprint for remaking games. And I said this with Alan Wake. I just replayed Alan Wake, the remastered version. Remastered's not enough, man. It's just not enough. It still feels like a 13-year-old game. It's like kind of awkward how they look and how they move and stuff like that. This remake, that keeps this shit classic, and it still has that nostalgic feel. It feels like the fucking game you think you remember, but you go back and this shit looks horrible. It looks terrible. Even Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, I am just impressed what they're doing over there. To jump the series to first person in Resident Evil 7, that's like, that was a crazy idea. And it ends up just feeling like Resident Evil in first person. It was so impressive. That was one of the best demos I had ever played, with the characters and like the Chainsaw Massacre type shit they were doing. Fucking House in the Bayou and shit. Yo, this series is very impressive right now. Very impressive.